Good morning, everybody. My name is Mimi, and I am a compulsive overeater and bulimic, and uh, a grateful member of GreySheeters Anonymous. My abstinence date is 9/29/19, and I weigh and measure 3 meals off the gray sheet. I write them down, I commit them to my sponsor. I do not eat between meals no matter what. And abstinence is the most important thing in my life without exception. And it's so wonderful to be here. Thank you, Kim, for asking. Thank you, Stephanie, for leading. Thanks, Nancy, for timing. And I know almost everybody on this meeting. It's such a delight to see you all, and know that we are all doing the very same things, even though we may have got here in very different ways. So I'll tell you a little bit about how I came into Gray Sheet. Uh, I was raised in a very loving home. I live in Southern California. I actually am back in my childhood home as we speak. And so it's kind of come full circle for me. And, my mom struggled with body image, and she was unfortunately a practicing anorexic until she passed. November 18th will be, no, sorry, November 9th will be 7 years, which is just crazy, just unbelievable. Um, but, she did the very best she could. Now, I didn't know that at the time when I was a kid. And truly, my body image never even came to fruition until really I got into high school. I was just very active as a kid, and I was thin, and I ate what I wanted, and I do know that I would prefer sweets over anything else. And in fact, there's a funny story. When I was a little kid, little toddler, my grandma and grandpa used to joke about how I could smell the brown sweet stuff that comes in boxes and pretty packages, from rooms away. I could smell it. And so, that was like a little joke. And as I grew up, I became very aware that there was a lot of fat shaming, although I didn't know that there was a name for it in my family. My family used to just joke about fat people, and I'd go right along with it. Until, of course, I got to an age in high school where I started putting on some weight, and then I realized, oh, wait, they're making jokes about me indirectly. And I started to feel self conscious. And that was like the beginning of the feeling uncomfortable in my body. Um, I was diagnosed with scoliosis severe. I had to wear a Milwaukee body brace, which came from just under my chin all the way down past my hips. And it was a brace, it was a full body brace. I could take off to take a shower, but I slept in it. I did all my activities in it. And it held me in. I mean, it was like a cast, it was like a girdle. And I remember in high school feeling, first of all, very different. I knew it was very visible and people could see it. And I was the only one on campus who had this. Um, but when I would eat, I would feel physically constricted. So I would feel more full quickly. So that started to become a problem because I started wanting more and more food. I began this very unhealthy competition with my mom. I tried to be anorexic. I just couldn't, because I wanted to eat. I've just always loved to eat. And so I had to find ways that I could stay thin because I didn't want to be the butt of my family's jokes. And and yet I couldn't be anorexic. So my girlfriend Carolyn introduced me to bulimia one summer before my junior year of high school. And that changed everything for me. So it included exercise bulimia. I would run incessantly, run, run, run after I would eat and binge. But then I learned how to throw up. And so that was a way, that was my first tool to manage and control my eating. And I knew I was different, and I knew other people didn't do this. And so I quickly realized I needed to keep this a secret. And I became really good at keeping secrets and lying and hiding and sneaking. And my mom, bless her heart, she had those round, sweet things that people eat for desserts in a glass container with a metal lid. And you could not get this lid off without it clanging and making this loud noise that she could hear from upstairs. And she would yell down, Mimi, get out of the blank jar. And so I would quickly take what I needed, put the lid on, go in my room, close the door, and secretly eat it really fast. And that became this pattern. And to this day, I love to eat my gray sheet food alone. So I can just like grunt and moan and enjoy it. Now, it wasn't enjoyable back then. I was doing it really as a coping mechanism, you know? And so I became very good, like I said, of lying and cheating and stealing. So I would steal food that wasn't mine. This went into college. I would eat my roommate's food. They'd leave little notes. Oh my God, it was humiliating. They'd leave these notes like to the little mouse in the apartment. Well, I was the little mouse, obviously, because they weren't the one eating it. I was. Oh, it was just humiliating. And so I learned to do a lot of geographics. And I moved over 30 times in the 4 years that I was at UCLA. And it was because I kept having to leave my living situations because I was so embarrassed by my behaviors that I couldn't stop. I could not steal their food. As embarrassing as it was when they caught me, as humiliating as it was, there were times when I would eat it so fast, it would get caught in my throat and I thought I couldn't breathe. And I would quickly just try and swallow, 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 and then take the next compulsive bite. Like I couldn't not do that. And that's the crazy obsession compulsion of this disease. And I had no idea that the first bite set off, you know, the physical craving in my body. I just thought I had no willpower. And I couldn't understand. Like I was at UCLA, I was pre-med. From the outside, I had it all going on. But again, you know, those were coping mechanisms. Like in my family, you made sure that you looked a certain way on the outside. Nobody saw what was going on inside. No one talked about my mom's anorexia until it got to a point where we had to start discussing it, even though I had seen it long before. No one talked about my disease. Now, my dad is a dentist. He saw my teeth. He replaced my teeth from the bulimia. He never said a word. So just all the secrecies, you know, those family dynamics that you just don't disrupt. And this way of life, this, you know, they call it in the big book, the double life, the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, you know, I was one thing to the outside world. I was another thing behind closed doors. And it became more and more uncomfortable to be in my skin. So I had to turn to more drastic measures, right? The bulimia stopped working. So I found drugs. I found crystal meth. I found illegal speed. My sister found fen-phen. Okay, same thing. She was just getting it prescribed. I wasn't. I was finding mine on the street. But we were both searching for whatever way we could to keep ourselves thin at any cost. And it took a great cost. It got to the point where I was no longer eating. I was very thin, but I was now a drug addict and an alcoholic for sure, which now I can see is a blessing because I finally got into rehab for drug addiction and alcoholism. And thank God the doctors there immediately dual diagnosed me as having also an eating disorder. And that's 5 minutes. Thank you, Nancy. Perfect. I'm getting to some recovery here. So I get into rehab. They tell me, well, you obviously need to be treated for your eating disorder. So, do the 12 steps as outlined in the big book for your alcoholism and drug addiction and your eating disorder. And I said, okay. And I tried my hardest. I absolutely tried my hardest. And I love seeing people on this meeting nodding in agreement. It's like I could not put the fork down, no matter how great the 12 steps were working for my alcoholism and my drug addiction. Like those things, as we know, can just be put in a box and put away. I never have to be in a bar again. I never have to go to a club. I don't have to ever see that stuff. But food is a whole different animal. And for me, the 12 steps were not addressing that. The meetings I was going to that were emphasizing alcohol and drugs. So I found OA because that was the next best thing. That led me to OA How. Then I got into CEA How. And I was in CEA How for 11 and a half years. And I was trying to do it with my sister. And I remember halfway through, 5 years into it, we just agreed with each other that it was just going to be better to accept that we'll have more days abstinent than not. Because there was no way I was getting long-term abstinence. Because every 30 days I brought in those grains that we are allergic to. I didn't know that. And it led to a binge. And this went on for over a decade. And I had no clue that you guys were out here existing in this different group. And I followed a woman from my AA morning meeting to the one GreySheeters Anonymous meeting in Los Angeles on a Saturday morning. I asked her, I said, why do you leave the AA meeting a little bit early? And she said, oh, I go to another 12-step meeting for food. And I said, oh, OA, CA, how? I started listing all the others. And she's like, no, this is GSA. And I said, I've never heard of that. And I said, take me. She took me. I cried through the whole first meeting because I could not believe that, first of all, you guys were all sitting there in normal sized bodies. You had that gray sheet glow that we do when we're abstinent and the fog has lifted. And then I saw the food plan and I just about fell off my chair. I'm like, where are the carbs? Don't you bring those in at some point? And she's like, no, we have a physical allergy. And once that was explained to me, as it is in the big book, because at that point I had a little under 20 years sobriety. And so I was not, this wasn't new to me. I just didn't know that it applied to the food. And once I got that my body is a distillery, and when I put in those carbohydrates, they turn into sugars, just like alcohol. And that then will set off this craving, this phenomenon of craving that I don't know where it's going to take me. Could take me to a day of binging. It could be years. And I've had that experience in Gray Sheet. I struggled with getting one day for the first 2 years. And I have 1 minute left. Thank you, Nancy. I got 4 years at one point. And then I decided, I made an independent food choice. And I decided that this certain kind of a water, actually it was a beverage that I went out on, was okay. And it was not abstinent. And it took me 5 grueling months to get back. And I'm now coming up on, let's see, what is the math? I think so 6 years. Yeah, coming up on 6 years again. And yeah, I'm so grateful. So my practice today is I have a meditation practice. I have a very dedicated 11-step practice that my husband and I sit for 30 minutes every morning, no matter what. We just got back from Cabo with my family. Like, no matter what, I don't miss that. Like, I don't miss my breakfast. And that is my time. So I'll just wrap it up with this one thought. Um, I pray and meditate every morning, and I'm on a gray sheet meeting almost every morning, and another AA meeting somewhere in the day. And I fit my life in to my program, not the other way around. So really glad to be here with all of you, and I can't wait to hear everybody else's share.